Hello and welcome to Rev Sports. I am Rev Tripathi and alongside me is Devashish Sen. You're watching the post live show that is brought to you by IDFC First Bank. And a wicketless session for Team India. Sri Lanka have wrestled their way back into this game. Just when we were thinking that this will be an early wrap to Sri Lanka's innings after they lost 5 wickets in the first session, they have wrestled back into the game courtesy of that 100 plus run partnership, the unbeaten partnership between Niroshan Dickwella and Sonal Dinusha. And because of that partnership, Sri Lanka is still alive in the game. They are at 2-1-4-4-5 at T. But yes, a lot of things didn't go at India's way. There were a lot of chances created, but that didn't came to the fielders' hands. And yes, you can say that this was a half and half. There were half and half chances which didn't go India's way. But credit to Sri Lanka the way they batted both the left-handers. So yes, we'll review this session. Debashish, thoughts on the session? I think the batting was brilliant.
I think both of them batted well. They applied well the situation, especially both the batters played straight shots. They crafted their innings, took singles, one to two. They were looking for runs, rotating the strikes, and that is the beauty of this partnership, which is more than 100 runs. And that means I think Sri Lanka can take much needed confidence from this partnership. Yes, the first session hasn't gone their way, but they have totally bounced back in style. Means obviously both are not out, and all they need to do is to carry on that partnership. And if they can, their first objective will be to go past the 260. If they can go past the 260, then obviously that will, I won't say it will put pressure, but definitely Sri Lanka will have the confidence against the Indian spin.
Yeah, I think the first target for Sri Lanka would be to avoid the follow-on, would be to bring Indian team back to the ground for the second innings. But coming to this, let's recap what has happened in the last session. The way Sonal Dinusha started, it was Ravindra Jadeja who started the proceedings post lunch. So Sonal Dinusha made the intent very evident that how they are going to approach the innings, hitting the four of the very first delivery. And ever since then, if you look at the way, like Devashish also said, the way Sri Lanka have started the innings, they have started the innings very Yeah, so we are back. So yes, the way the Sri Lankan batters started the session, the intent was right there, and the approach. It was not always about sweeping the ball. It was a calculated approach. They were defending as well, and they survived that last little burst from Mohammad Siraj, the second spell of Mohammad Siraj, where he beat the outside edge of both the batters on number of occasions, but they still survived. And Test cricket again is about survival, and we were talking about this in the post lunch session that maybe by the end of the second innings we'll see Sri Lanka coming out to bat again and India enforcing the follow on, but it is not the case. Yes, India can still wrap things up, but at the moment Sri Lankan batters are looking well set. But Devarshi, let's talk about Niroshan Dickwella first, because coming into this game, Niroshan Dickwella, a lot of question marks.
Yeah,
He has played 2023, and there were a lot of questions around his selection because he has played over 50 matches, over 50 tests,
54 test matches.
54 tests to be precise, but he's yet to score a test 100. And so always a question mark that he has the ability, but what he doesn't do is he doesn't hit those big runs. Again, he has crossed the 50-run mark. Now the question in front is, will he be able to convert this into his first run?
And that will be a big statement against his critics. Obviously, he has been out of the Sri Lankan Test squad since 2023. Last time he played was against New Zealand in Christchurch. 54 Test matches without 100. That doesn't warrant you a chance in the playing Test 11. Let it be very frank. There are wicket keepers in Sri Lanka, but the selectors have fallen back upon Niroshan Dickwella because of his experience, because Kushal Mendis is not here. So I think, and he has done it in style. So far, he has looked very confident, very accomplished, I would say, because they were very clear, both Sonal Danusha and Dickwella. They look confident against the spinners, and they didn't. And obviously confidently using their footwork, using the sweep shots. And one more thing, obviously, Dickwella, um, a lot of controversy surrounding it. Let's not get into that, but obviously, this innings of Dickwella, if he goes on to his some 66 or 67 not out, if he can go on to score his first maiden test 100, that will be a statement knock from Niroshan Dickwella. And Sonal Denusa, as Vaibhav said in that lunch session, lunch live, that he is one of the most talented Sri Lankan batter. He has only played 3 test matches, yet to score 100, had a high score of 92, but he definitely looks in straight touch, confident to go on to his maiden test 100. If, but the key will be for Sri Lanka will be those two batters to take that total closer to the Indian score.
Yeah, because these are the last two batters, the last recognized batting pair for Sri Lanka. After that, you have Keshara Nuwanta who's making his debut, and then the tail ender. So this is the last recognized batting pair, and how much these guys will bat, how long these guys will bat, will decide that how much of the lead India will be reduced to. Because obviously at one point they were looking at they must be looking to enforce the follow on, but now I just because of this partnership, they could have to come back to bat once again with a lead, with a sizable lead. But this batting pair, specifically talking about Sonal Dinusha, because he looked good against the same opposition during the 3-day practice match, and not a lot of people know him because he has just made a start to his international career, but a highly accomplished left-handed batter. He has got all the shots in his repertoire, and he has the game against both pace and spin like we have seen so far. He's very calm. The best part about Sonal Dinusha is very calm. Because he has scored a lot of runs for Sri Lanka in the A tours, and he has scored that 100 against Australia 11 as well. Australia Prime Minister 11. Not a lot of Sri Lankan batters have scored 100 on Australian turf, but he has. Yes, that was a first class match, not a test match, but still scoring runs gives you confidence, and that you can see in Sonal Dinusha's batting, and the way these two have complemented each other continuously. They are talking, and that is what that's what a big partnership is all about. You complement each other as partners. But Devashish, while Dickwella was batting, there was a lot of chirping, chatting behind the wicket from Rishabh Pant. At one point, Dickwella got frustrated and he said something to Rishabh Pant, and Rishabh Pant was surprised because when Indian team was batting, Dickwella was doing same, and he was seen using some Hindi words as well.
Yeah, with Rishabh Pant, you always going to get some entertainment. Be it a team pain, and now here in Sri Lanka, so it has always been the case with Pant. But talking about the Indian team management, I saw Sairaj Bhautule, the spin bowling coach, making instructions from the balcony, and then obviously for Kuldeep Yadav, then he himself came down to the ground and had a long chat with Kuldeep on the sideline. So I think the area where you go, that is very crucial in these conditions, and that is what Sairaj Bhautule was trying to make it a point to Kuldeep. So it is up to the Indian spin tribe to see where they land the ball in the third session, because India, in order to win this test match, they need to bundle the Sri Lankan out by today. If Sri Lanka play out this third session, they minimum 80 to 100 runs, then they will be closer to the Indian total, and then you never know. So key for India will be to get the early inroads, break this partnership post-key, and then from there on, obviously, as Vaibhav said, that not much batting left, but key will be to break this partnership.
Devashi did the softer ball because the ball got softer post-lunch. A softer ball, good afternoon conditions, not much happening because of the softer ball. Did that make an impact?
Absolutely. Not only the softer ball, but this hot sun. It's baking hot. Means obviously the conditions are pretty dry. The wicket is somewhat eased out. The batters are finding it very comfortable. Initially, what happened in the first session? There was a bit of moisture because of overnight rain. I was talking to someone. He said that there was a bit of moisture, and that was the reason the spinners were getting some heat. So I think the second session, because of the hot sun, it is baking hot out here. Means obviously it was very difficult, and that was the reason it got flattened out. So maybe because the conditions won't be any different in the third session as well. So it is up to the Indian spinners to bowl at the right areas and do some wonder.
Yeah, because the way they bowled, obviously, they were attacking, but I think what where they lacked is when the opposition was already 5 wickets down. I think they could have had more closing fielders, like more forward shot, like Silimidov, these kind of fielders. Yes, there was an in and out field, but I think you can build more pressure with batters, with fielders around the batter. I think that could have.
Yeah, Shubman Gill himself placed himself when Ravindra Jadeja was bowling. He placed himself close to the batters in his vision. But as it is, they played both the batters. They played confidently. So India will have to bring out some new strategy so as to unsettle this pair and break the partnership. If you can break this partnership, you can make early inroads into that later.
Devashish, will you start with pace post the tea session, or will you stick with spinners from both the ends?
I would rather stick with spinners from both the ends because if someone can give you the wicket, it will be the spinners. Mohammad Sutar has been outstanding in that first session. But obviously, let's see. But rotating the bowlers will be very important. And what Shomikya has also said, you also will be discussed in the pre-match, pre-race play, bringing the bowlers from the right side, right end will be crucial now. Which end is the bowlers being used?
Exactly. See, it is about the tactical play, and obviously because these bowlers, these batters, both of them, Sonal, Dinesh or Niranjan Dickwella, both have been sweeping a lot. How India will be able to counter that sweep shot attack of the Sri Lankan batters will be something that will be interesting to see. But let's see how India will respond to this fight back from Sri Lanka in the third and last session of the day. We'll be back after that, after the day's play. So don't forget to join us then. It's bye for now. Thank you for watching.